Hi, so if you saw my general leading video, you'll know that just as I got into alpha, I had to move. I've moved, which means no computer for quite a while. Now I've got the computer, but no internet. And at the time of making this, that's still the case, but hopefully not for too much longer as I show you me setting up my abilities, which I also showed in the other video. The reason for that is I'm going to talk about a few of the initial impressions of the Retribution Paladin. Of course, we knew a certain amount of these things from people who were initially into alpha, but I just thought I'd give my own impressions. Again, you can take or leave that. Just a warning though, most of the footage that it will be going over is of me doing the quest to get the Ashbringer, so I'm just going to put it out there. There's nothing stunningly new about this. I was not in the first wave of alpha. I'm not the first person to be reporting on this. This is just my views. But if you don't want to see the spoilers of how we actually get the Ashbringer, go no further. Turn it off right now. So it starts out with a simple enough choice. We're getting our quest here. Setting the scene there. We knew this anyway. This is going to contain spoilers, I've already said, so if you're still here, right? Yeah, it gives you a choice of which one you're going to go, as if I'm going to go for those two. Ashbringer all the way. I'm not entirely sure. They did say you'd be able to do all three. I'm not entirely sure how you do the other ones once you've obtained the first one. It may just be that it isn't implemented or wasn't implemented at the time of alpha. I am well out of the loop at the moment I'm writing this. It's like a week and a half since I was in here as I sort of narrate this now. But again, it's giving you the scene. We've got to go to the Broken Isles here. We're going straight to the heart of the invasion at the moment, basically to rescue Tyrion, who's in trouble. We know he's not going to have a happy ending because he's not just going to give us the Ashbringer, is he? But yeah, as we look down here. Now, the first thing to note, of course, is when we're going into this, we are going to go straight into combat. But our abilities have all changed. It is worth, before you go headlong into this quest, actually having a look at your abilities. They're not the same. Like when we changed from Mop to Warlords of Draenor, there wasn't a lot different. It was the same basic abilities. Very little changed. You played it in the same way. Your priority system was basically the same. The only thing that really changes our priority system is our set bonuses. Here it's very different. The abilities are very different. We still have sort of a Templar's Verdict type thing. We still have Divine Storm as finishers, but our holy power generators work very, very differently. Remember, Judgment in its most basic form gives us debuffs the enemies so that we can do more damage against them, but doesn't necessarily give us holy power unless we talent for that. So I would, as I did, I mean, we knew these things anyway because people have been in alpha reported on them, so I sort of knew what I was going to go for. I'm going for a guest here. I've gone for a bit of an AoE thing. The old divine hammers swirling around there. Hey, oh, Diablo. But yeah, so we're just going to try out the abilities at the moment. I mean, you can see I'm not doing this optimally. I'm not even thinking about in which order I should be using these abilities just yet. I'm just using them. You know you're not going to die on this. I mean, this is your introductory scenario thing. It's not going to kill you unless you do something silly like sit down, turn your back and don't do anything. So this is just basically a slog through a load of demons.
The fiends have Tyrion. We have to act quickly. Champion, I'll signal for our Hippogriff riders to get our fallen to Light's Hope Chapel. You must forge ahead and find the High Lord.
And then Tyrion starts wailing. Usual thing. This has got sort of shades, hasn't it, of when you were with Tyrion in House Crown Citadel, and that time it was Fordranger that was resisting the torture, so to speak. So, little mob to attack here. Again, the old wings going there. At least we've got that. That's one of the few abilities we still do have in its normal form. Very, very interesting. I've said this before with the Retribution abilities, with the way the talents interact with it as well. I quite like it. It's far from finished, of course, but at the same time, I wouldn't be disappointed if it was largely in this format. There are some things that clearly need tweaking there. The things that give us like bonus attack speed aren't all that useful because nothing really nothing really interacts with our weapon swings. So, you know, if it gave us a smaller amount of haste or something like that, which it may well do. If we remember back to like Warlords of Draenor, Seraphim initially gave us attack speed. Then they changed it to haste because attack speed doesn't do us any favours. I mean, if you're a class where certain things proc off your melee swings, fine, attack speed is great. I mean, it used to for us, the old Seal of Command, for example, but doesn't really now. So if we're going to have anything, it ought to be haste or something like that. Okay, so yeah, he's falling there. We've got to go and like attack someone for reasons. Into the dark tunnel. Remember to use the defences. We've got a whole range of new defensives, of course, now as well. And I'm going to keep forgetting to use these until I get like a tell me when set up that reminds me of these things. But little absorb shields here that also do a bit of damage when they wear off. The old Turalion's Might there doesn't do that much damage really, does it? It's one of those things. You're not going to get it for the damage. It shares at the moment the tier with Execution Sentence and Consecrate. I didn't use Consecrate on this one, I thought. But if it's a movement thing, you can actually press it quite quickly. It is not that bad to use. It's still a fiddly one, of course, and it's one of those dangers because as you use it for movement, because you want to use it quickly, if you accidentally click on the wrong place, especially in an area where there's like walls or something like that, and you could and you're changing like camera view, and you could just get yourself into the wrong place. You could end up teleporting yourself miles away from where you actually want. But the damage it does, even when you teleport to it, is not considerable. It really isn't. I mean, tuning hasn't even been done. Maybe it'll do more. But of course, it won't do anywhere near as much damage as either Execution Sentence or Consecrate in an AoE situation, because that would make no sense, because you'd only ever take this. So it's going to be a token amount of damage, I think, even when it goes live. It's just, will the movement be useful? Now, from my point of view, when I'm thinking in terms of raiding, that's the key question. We can actually use it quite quickly, place the thing and jump to quite quickly. So maybe for PvP, it's the way. Hooray, Ashbringer, it's mine. Tyrion was a bit careless leaving that. And Balnazar, how many times have I knocked his head off? I'm going to do it again now. But, wanted this sword for so long. So long. I remember as well when I left the game, obviously I came crawling back, but I left the game at the end of Tier 7, so that was after the second version of Naxxramas in Wrath of the Lich King. And as I left the game, I actually thought that, because we sort of knew there was going to be a legendary, now it ended up being Frostmourne. But I thought it was going to be the Ashbringer. I thought Tyrion would sort of fall in House Crown Citadel and we'd be able to get the Ashbringer, or something like that. So it was one of the things that made me think twice about leaving the game, but for various reasons I had to, or I did anyway. And then, as I say, came back. So yes, it's good now that we've actually got the Ashbringer. There's the old Divine Steed there. I'm not mounted there, because the mount I use in Alpha and Beta is the Magic Rooster. I love that chicken. I don't have it in live. I'm not paying hundreds of pounds for it. So so whenever I get into Alpha or Beta or any PTR or anything like that, where it gives you a stock set of mounts, I always go for the Magic Rooster. So that particular one was the Divine Steed, which gives you a movement speed increase for a few seconds. And again, taken directly from Diablo. But I don't see that as a bad thing. By all means, it's another Blizzard game. They're not ripping anything off. And a good idea is a good idea. And if you like it, then that's great. This one's a bit awkward. It says, come closer. And you expect to start talking. It's like, he's not saying anything. Oh, I have to stand right on top of his head to get him to say something. Then you back off and he stops saying the things again. You actually literally have to stand on his head to get him to say anything. Which I work out in a second or two, I think, if I remember rightly. There we go, kick him in the head. There we go, he's saying something else again. So, farting about there. And then we're off to the order hall.
You will be missed, brother. We must go to Light's Hope Chapel at once. High Lord Fordring deserves to be put to rest among the ancient heroes of the light buried there. We gave everything for the Ashbringer. You gave everything. Tyrion would be proud to see you wielding that blade. Greetings.
Now, to get to the order hall, of course, Light's Hope Chapel, you can get there any way you like. There is a portal in Dalaran. It did take me a little while to find it, a little bit of farting about, but that's, I mean, once you know where it is, that's fine. The only downside is that it doesn't take you directly to Light's Hope Chapel. That would be too simple, wouldn't it? So you find a little area, looking around for the portals. Which portal is going to be most useful to me? Which one's closest to Light's Hope Chapel? And then you see it. Eventually, come on, you idiot, get in there. Dalaran Crater. Oh, I remember this. Just as well I'm a paladin. What a dirty trick to play. There you go, bubble. For the win. Then, of course, just fly up, get yourself over to Light's Hope. Still can't get used to the new, it's not new Light's Hope Chapel anymore. It's been around since Cataclysm, but yeah, I still, because I've not been here that much since the older days. I still remember the old one. But this is obviously where it gets a little awkward. I'm hoping this is just an alpha feature. Certainly seems to be under construction. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, at the moment, obviously, all we can see in this order hall, while you're being told that you are this great leader, you're the obvious choice to lead the paladins. Both Horde and Alliance Persuasion, and you wield the mighty Ashbringer. And they're telling you all this while there's another two fellas with Ashbringers as well. So I think they've done a job lot. I would assume that this will be phased when it goes live. It really wouldn't make any sense to have people running around, loads of people running around with Ashbringers. It devalues the whole gravity of the situation, doesn't it? But at the moment, I mean, you're coming into here, you're sort of being told, obviously Tyrion's dead, they're going to lay him to rest, do a bit of a service for him. You're the obvious one to sort of lead the paladins, you wield the Ashbringer. Not just because you picked it up, apparently you've got to be pure of heart to be able to wield the Ashbringer. It's a bit of an Excalibur type thing, I think. Or certainly that's what they're making it to be. And of course what they'll do is at the end of this, they get you to actually assign your first ability. So at this point in the proceedings, the leaders of the Paladins on both Horde and Alliance, you assume, pledging themselves to you. So you are now the boss of the Paladins. Not sure if this is an upward step. In Warlords of Draenor, we were the general of the entire expeditionary force. Now we are just the leader of the Paladins. And there's not even enough of them to fill up those seats. They could all fit on the front row, quite frankly. So yeah, not sure. But at least there's no gnomes. I'm not having to order gnomes around. Because try as I might, in Warlords of Draenor, I was never able to order any of them off a cliff. You get the ability here, which I've sort of already got in there, which allows you to teleport to your order hall straight away. You get your first sort of follower, who's not this fellow, it's someone else. You sort of get the impression it's this fellow, but it's someone different. You report to them to start to get your first sort of missions. They're sort of daily missions, but as has already been noted, they're not really daily. What happens is you get them and they last a few days. So you don't have to come in every day. You can just come in as and when you want. And if you leave if you're not in the game for a few days, they'll still all be there. They'll have built up, and maybe you can do extra ones there. But there we go. We can use get our first ability. It's not particularly stunning at the moment. Maybe it becomes more powerful later on. But you know, it is what it is, and then it starts to open up the rest of the pathways. So once you earn more artifact power, you'll be able to upgrade it and start to think about the path you want to take. Once you get enough artifact power, which you can see on the bar just above your experience bar, you can come back here. You have to come back here, obviously you can't do it out in the field, and you can select which one you want. It sort of depends on the pathway. As I say, you don't want to be drawn into going, oh, I'd like to put it on this ability first, because that might send you down a path where the next one in line isn't one that you're really all that bothered about. So it's best to think long term with this, I suspect. In the very long term, of course, we'll get all of them. But for the first few weeks at least of the expansion, we won't get all of them. So we have to pick very carefully. I don't know how much of a reset ability there will be. So that's a quick look at my very initial impression of the Ashbringer and the Retribution Paladin. I was intended, of course, to go into a bit more detail, do a little bit of theory crafting, not a great deal. There's people doing a far better job than I am already. But that will unfortunately have to wait until I can get back onto the internet and this home, which I should be getting it on the 3rd of February, but probably videos would come a couple of days after that, Friday and the Saturday of that week. So until then, I'll see you later.